Earlier, Prime Minister Netanyahu visited the troops stationed on the front line of war. Sending out a strong statement, Netanyahu reiterated that Israel will not stop until the killings are avenged, further adding that all the hideouts of the terror group Hamas will be effectively dismantled.
On Wednesday, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu met troops at the Zikkim base area near the northern Gaza Strip. While boosting their morale, Netanyahu said that there is no place in Gaza that Israel will not reach.
זוכרים שאמרו לנו שלא נפרוץ לעזה? פרצנו. אמרו לנו שלא נגיע לפאתי העיר עזה? הגענו. אמרו לנו שלא ניכנס לשיפה? נכנסנו. וברוח הזאת אנחנו אומרים דבר פשוט. אין מקום בעזה שלא נגיע אליו. אין מסתור, אין מחסה, אין מקלט למרצחי החמאס. אנחנו נגיע ונחסל את החמאס ונחזיר את החטופים שלנו. אלה שתי משימות קדושות.
Israeli forces are now carrying out operations in Gaza's largest hospital. A struggling clinic that houses hundreds of patients, including babies, that is at the center of conflicting narratives surrounding the war and serves as a powerful emblem of Palestinian suffering. But Israel viewed Shifa Hospital as a key target in a conflict that has killed thousands of Palestinians.
בערב אני דיברתי שוב עם הנשיא ביידן. אנחנו לא מרפים. אנחנו נחסל את החמאס, נשיג ניצחון מוחלט ונחזיר את החטופים שלנו. בעזרתכם, בעזרת השם. אמן. תודה רבה לכם. אתם יוצאים מן הכלל.
And unleashed widespread destruction in Gaza. The war between Israel and Hamas erupted after the Hamas killed some 1,200 people and seized around 240 captives in a surprise to October 7 attack. According to Israel, Shifa is a Hamas command post. However, Hamas and Gaza health officials deny any terrorists operate in Shifa. But Palestinians and rights groups say that Israel has recklessly endangered civilians as it seeks to eradicate Hamas. Agency report, Republic TV.
Now, at a meeting with troops at the Zikkim facility, which is located close to the northern Gaza Strip, Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu declared, and I quote, that there is no place in Gaza that Israel will not reach and that all hideouts of Hamas terror group will be destroyed.
The chief of United Nations Children's Agency has issued warning after visiting the Gaza Strip that the situation in the territory was desperate. Catherine Rizal, UNICEF's executive director, was in Khan Yunis, where she visited the Al-Nasser hospital. She said the hospital was full of injured victims, and several not seeking medical care but simply sheltering inside, sleeping on the floor under blankets.
Desperate situation, and that is the bottom line. And I went, as you said, I was in Khan Yunis, and I went to a hospital there called Al-Nasser. And the amazing thing was, as we pulled up to the hospital, it was just, there were crowds and crowds of people around there. So many young people, children, it was just incredible to see it teeming with people. And then I got in the hospital, and every single floor had people camped out, staying there. Blankets on the floor. They sought refuge in the hospital. They were staying there. Not people who were seeking medical care, just people who had come from other parts of the country or parts of the territory who were looking for a place to stay and were staying there. And I think, the doctors and the nurses there are doing their best, but it's obviously a very dire situation. UNICEF is working hard to get water and supplies, medical supplies in, but it's very, very challenging.
Russell stressed that babies in hospital incubators would not be able to survive once fuel runs out.
We're concerned about, at the time, when the doctors that I met with, they took me into the place where they have the incubators and the babies in the incubators, and they're very worried about when they're going to run out of fuel for their generators. Right, that's the thing that really seemed to occupy their minds at this point. I think they are worried that they're not going to be able to provide enough services, and if they don't have the fuel, that's devastating because then they can't run those incubators, which means it would be very hard. Those babies were so tiny. They just couldn't survive if they didn't have the incubators working.
The Children's Agency said that it was also critical to ensuring clean, safe drinking water for children and adults alike.
The point we've made is that the fuel is important, certainly for the generators, and it's critical for the hospitals, the incubators. It's also really important for the water sanitation, which is a critical issue there, right? Children and others, of course, but we always focus on children, need clean water. We don't want them drinking brackish water. They're going to get sick, which is, we don't need that on top of everything else. We also need the fuel so that our people can move around, right? They have to have fuel for their vehicles so that they can deliver the humanitarian support that we're getting into the country and that we're into the territory and that we're helping them to provide. So the fuel is critical. We're advocating with everyone we can on that point, and also just making the point to everyone that, conflict is always bad for children. War is always bad for children. They don't start wars. They can't stop them, but they suffer the most, and that every person who's a party to these things has to take children into account and do their absolute best to protect them.
The United Nations Humanitarian Affairs Office estimates that about 2,700 people, including 1,500 children, are missing and believed buried in the rubble. In addition, more than 11,200 Palestinians, and 2/3 of them women and children, have been confirmed killed in Gaza. Since the start of the war, according to the health ministry in Gaza. While officials say that they don't have the equipment, manpower or fuel to search properly for the living, let alone the dead, concerns are only rising for civilians in Gaza. Agency report, Republic TV.